All right.
We're good to go?
I think so.
Well, thanks, guys, for everyone for joining. I'm going to hand you over to President and President. What's the correct word? Is that the right word to use? I think so.
Vice President.
Vice President. Like Donald Trump and whoever the Vice President is in the States is. And we're going to go through what, as the title's been circulated on the invites, just what CORFAC can offer, and we'll go through it in a lot more detail. But can I just ask everyone to mute themselves when we're on this? And then if you've got questions, either do it on the chat or unmute yourself and just jump on and ask a question, because there's only a few of us. Well, it's about 10 or 11 on us at the moment. And then we've got another session tomorrow. So obviously this is replacing our Irish Guinness Fest, which we can't have, which is a real shame. But these would be, is that right? These are the days which we should be there in Dublin. So it's very big shame we're not there. So I'm going to hand over to Alan and Joe, and Chris is going to be driving the presentation. Thanks, guys.
Before Alan gets started, let me just let everyone know, due to the fact that we were unable to come over and visit this year, that both Alan and myself will be coming to Dublin next year for the international conference. So we'll both be there to celebrate and meet with everyone in person, God willing, COVID willing, 1 year from now. And with that, Alan.
Yeah. Well, good morning here. Good afternoon for you guys. A couple of things we're going to go through. What, Joe and I are going to talk back and forth a little bit about CORFAC and some of the benefits of CORFAC. I would like to mention up front so that you're ready. We're going to ask everybody to introduce themselves, tell us, hello, who you are and what your specialty is. And most importantly, the question is going to be, how can CORFAC create more opportunities for you as a broker, real estate agent? So we'll ask for that. We'll talk about that towards the end of the presentation. So if you'll put yourself on mute, and then and I will go through the list towards the end, and we can unmute yourself to talk. Obviously, in the interim, the chat is great. If you have a question, we'll go ahead and ask the question immediately once it pops up. So I think that's all for now, and we can get into our presentation. I think most of you obviously know who we are, what we do. We have, you can read it in front of you, but we are basically an independent network of entrepreneurial commercial real estate companies. And we feel like we're top of the line as far as our markets. And the benefit for you guys, which is different than America, is your markets are, for the most part, your countries. So in the United States, we basically have cities versus countries. So we, the organization is about 30 years old now, and I believe we're up to, what are we now, Jonathan?
75.
75 total, of which there's about 14 international.
Closer to 18.
18 international firms. Oh, that's right. We added a couple. So we're glad to have you. We started in 89. Our company's been a member since 2003. And I think we still have 2 original companies that are still members. I think that's King Industrial and Voigt, if I'm not mistaken. Or was Voigt a year later?
No, Clavin.
Clavin. So 2 companies that are still there. And today on the phone is our European group. And so we'll have another meeting at 12 o'clock our time with our Canadian friends, and then 8 o'clock tonight with our Asiatic groups. So what do we do? CORFAC. Let's talk about CORFAC and what CORFAC can do for you, what we do. We primarily started off as a tenant rep industrial and office organization. That was back 30 years ago. We have evolved, and we still are evolving into more of a diverse group of real estate companies doing much more than tenant rep, office, and industrial. While that's still our base clientele, I think you're going to see that our retail, investment sales, land, property management, et cetera, has grown exponentially and will continue to grow, because that's really, quite frankly, in our opinion, we feel like the greatest opportunity for CORFAC growth as far as deals are concerned, referrals, is going to be in the investment sales, retail world. That's where we feel like we can continue to grow and do a lot better. Dollar volume wise, these graphs are fairly typical of what you're seeing for CORFAC. I will say that one of our mandates has been, at least one of my mandates has been trying to get more deals done within the CORFAC system. And I know that's probably heavy on your mind as well. This year, or 18 to 19, we were a 61% increase in deals, which is good. Still not good enough, but it's good. It's a good start. We did 61 deals last year, referral deals. Now, what a referral deal means is that's when a CORFAC member does another deal with a CORFAC member. Obviously, if you do a deal yourself in your market, that's not included as part of that 61 deals. The year before that, we did 30. So we've increased our deal flow significantly, about 61% from 18 to 19. This year, we were on a good track until February, late February, early March. Things have slowed down for obvious reasons. And I think this year will probably be down just because of the sheer issue of COVID and what's going on with that. But I do think we're headed in the right direction. You can see in this graph the transaction volume and the types of deals that we've been doing, office and industrial. And I think, as you can see, our investment sales have gone up as well as retail. Okay, here's our countries. Clearly, as far as our European friends, Europe is clearly a largest player in the market. And then behind that is the Asian Pacific and Canadian. So there's nothing magic about these numbers. It's just that we feel like you guys might want to look at, see kind of where our international business is coming from. And all this is available to you. We can get it to you by either email if you want a hard copy, or it's going to be on the website for the whole video.
Just real quick, Alan, this came from a website that we're going to share the link with that's got a lot of very detailed information about investment between obviously different countries from around the world and the U.S. And the only reason that we essentially show this is to show you that, essence, it's U.S. is investing, $3.5 to $4 billion overseas. And there's, essentially about $3 billion annually coming back into the United States. And this is something that we think we need, it's an untapped market for us, especially in, the capital markets that Alan's been really focusing on lately. I think before we're done with this, we'd like to kind of get in a little bit more detail about what's a good investment for one of you or your clients and vice versa. But again, I don't want to keep going here. Alan, you continue, and then when I take over, we'll get into more detail on that.
Right. So
I'm sorry to interrupt, Alan. Joe, on the next slide, just really quick, that was a little bit more of the detail, and then the link is here. I just couldn't fit it all on the one slide. So,
Christy, thank you.
That's in there. So
there you go.
When everybody gets the presentation.
So what we want to do as far as real referrals, we want to try to start pushing, from your perspective, we think this is probably the best opportunity is how can you as a broker or real estate professional do transactions perhaps in America, buying real estate for your clients, or helping your clients buy real estate in America, where there seems to be a lot more opportunity to make more money, and there are more opportunities to connect to real estate with better returns. So we did start, and I know some of you have been part of these calls. We've done investment calls over the last, we've done several of them now. And we basically have a have and need requirement. So if you have a need or a requirement for an investment sale, that's kind of where we feel like we can do a lot more transactions in the future. And so if you have a client that says wants to buy real estate in Atlanta, any kind of real estate in Atlanta, then you've got somebody that you know can help you, whether it's King or Joel Granat. You know, we sort of pretty much know that market. We know industrial, we know office, we know retail. And so we can certainly help your client not only buy the property, but also manage it and lease it. And that's probably it's a big bit for your clients that have international, that want to buy some international real estate, that says, well, how am I going to manage this thing? How am I going to lease this thing? Who can I trust? And you're not going to be able to do that with the big guys, but you can with the small guys, and that's us. And that's why we feel like there's some real opportunities there. And we want to look at, you know, who your clients are and try to figure out, can we push that agenda a little bit through your clients and see if we can't create some more business opportunities for everybody. And I know that Joe's going to get into the other benefits of CORFAC, but I'll tell you personally, for me, I want to increase, and I personally want to see more deals being made between our CORFAC companies, whether it's international or, you know, or within the States. It doesn't matter to me. I just feel like the more deals that we're able to do, the more value you see and we'll have in CORFAC. So I think that's kind of where we're headed. We would certainly like to get your input as to if there are other ideas that you might have to help, so the CORFAC can help you do your business.
Me?
Yeah, I think so. Is that next slide?
What is the next slide? Okay, before we get into this slide, a little bit about me. So my firm is Patterson Woods Commercial Properties, CORFAC International. We're in Wilmington, Delaware. For those of you who don't necessarily know where that is, we're about 30 minutes south of Philadelphia. We're about 2 hours south of New York City, about an hour, 15 minutes, kind of northeast of Baltimore, and about 2.5 hours due north from Washington. So we're nestled right in the Northeast, right in one of the densest populated areas in the country. So our firm became a CORFAC firm, I believe, around 2001. And it basically was born from the fact that my partner and founder of my company, Duncan Patterson, was the 2000 CCIM president. And apparently he met Steve Podolsky and John Hampshire at a CCIM event, and we became CORFAC at that time. I'm a little unique in a CORFAC broker in that my main focus or core business is retail, and even more detailed is hospitality, which isn't necessarily the typical CORFAC broker now, more so now, but it definitely wasn't then. In fact, I believe when we became CORFAC and we were sitting in a partners meeting, and I said, you know, okay, what's in it for me? And everybody looked at me and said nothing. So at that point, I said, okay, and moved on until Tom Bennett reached out to me, who was our former, since retired executive director, and said, you know, we need to get retail involved here. Another uniqueness to our company is, I don't know this to be a fact, but I believe that we are probably the smallest MSA of any CORFAC firm right now. Our entire MSA encompasses about 700,000 people. Statewide, we're about 1 million. We do cover the entire state. We do it well. We are full service, and do all the practices. So with that, that was another challenge in that, our firm isn't necessarily the beneficiary of a plethora of referrals simply because our market's small. And, occasionally they do come up. We tend to work more with our very close allies, Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, Washington, as I mentioned, and occasionally something will come in out there. But we've really developed a really good relationship with our close firms. In fact, the Philadelphia firm, Wolf Commercial, and our firm, we often go out for dinner together. We often bounce ideas off each other. We often share clients very closely. We often do a lot of deals together. But the referrals isn't what's kept us in the network for essentially 20 years. It's been the value add. It's been these things we're going to discuss now, the access to the public relations, the technology. And one of the biggest things that's really bad that I benefited from CORFAC is the appearance to be larger. And I don't want to say this like we're trying to, be something we're not, because we are. We're a CORFAC international firm. We have 1,000 brokers, and I leverage that information when I'm working with a larger client, an institutional client, and I can give examples. And then when I'm working with a local client, I can still be that local broker. So I can kind of use the best of both worlds when I'm pitching. And I like to use this one story, and Jonathan's heard it 100 times because I speak about it often when I would go on our affiliation trips. But about 3 or 4 years ago, I worked my way into a pitch for some listings. And it was with a very large debt collecting company in Charleston, South Carolina, which is not our market at all, very far south. But, they were foreclosing on a portfolio on about a $300 million portfolio in our market. And I worked my way into the pitch. And I went against JLL. I went against CBRE. I went against Cushman & Wakefield. And they did it in 2 rounds. I went in as CORFAC International. Patterson Woods was secondary to that pitch. I tapped into headquarters. They were very helpful. Essentially, Jennifer and Jonathan and I worked on a pitch that's still available to all CORFAC members on our website that incorporated a lot of these CORFAC numbers, showed our reach across the globe. And I went into this pitch. I pitched, it was a 2-part portfolio. There was a retail land portfolio and industrial land portfolio. I pitched both, got to the second round of both pitches. I won the retail pitch. And I can tell you it's been a very, very lucrative account for me over the last 3 or 4 years. I did not win the industrial pitch, but I'm probably going to get it second time around because CBRE got it and they're not doing a very good job. And in being in close contact with that client, they realize that I have performed for them and that, most likely I'll be getting about 256 prime industrial acres in a very growing market shortly. So that's a good story that I like to tell. Another thing, the PR, if you guys aren't taking advantage of the PR, you really need to. Early on, again, when I got very involved with CORFAC, I saw the benefit of the PR. And so much so that our PR director at that time assisted our marketing director in basically educated her on how to release the PR, how to get the information out. So it wasn't necessarily he was doing it every time, although he did do it several times for me and it was very successful. My marketing director now has that knowledge and information, and we pump out every deal that we do, for the most part, of any value, gets pumped out. Sometimes it just gets picked up locally. Sometimes it gets picked up regionally, but we really get a lot of leverage out of that PR. And then, of course, our existing consultant, Patricia, does a really good job in getting our faces out there in, some thought leader articles and some marketing and some information out there as far as, getting our faces and getting our names out to the public, especially in most of the trade journals. Couple other stories, but I guess, again, we can go through these slides. Of course, the PR and marketing, you've got essentially, you've got Jennifer, who is our full-time marketing director. Did I get that title correct? I apologize if I didn't, Jennifer. And Christy, who is our social media full-time marketing director. Is all I can say is do not hesitate to call either of them at any time with any questions you have related to marketing. Even, across the globe, our outreach is global. Our contacts are global. These people will help you out substantially and have the knowledge to do so. And if you're not taking advantage of it, you're really missing a lot. And of course, the technology discounts. I can tell you that we are a Delius firm as well as a build-out firm. Both products are phenomenal. We receive discounts on both of those products because we are a CORFAC firm. And frankly, we may not have been exposed to either of those, had we not had the relationship with CORFAC and, met the vendors and, went through the process. Of course, the best practices we love to share. We're your partners. There's, essentially no trade secrets here. If you need something, if you like the marketing piece that we had, it's yours. Any information you guys need, access to information, knowledge, even if it's, which we, and I used to see this a lot more, and I don't see it as much anymore. And I really think, I don't know why people aren't doing this, but you say you're pitching General Electric and you don't have a contact there. Of course, with our resources nowadays, we can go in our database and they're going to say the head of real estate is John Smith. Okay, great. You reach out to John Smith, you never hear back. We used to get almost daily an email from a member that basically said, does anybody have a relationship with General Electric? Does anybody have a relationship with Amazon? Does anybody have a relationship with, fill in the blank? And people will reply, yeah, I have a really good relationship with ABC. I have a really great relationship. Here's his contact information. Make sure you drop my name. If anything, it cracks open a closed door. I'd like to see more of that. I know you guys are looking for these people, and I know you're using your databases to do it, but you've got a huge database here that we create a warm call as opposed to a cold call. So again, I'd like to see more of the outreach from everyone.
So I might chime in on this. That's a good point. The website has the capability of sending out specific emails. So if you have a requirement or need something specifically as an investment or retail or office, you can send it directly to those people at CORFAC that are interested in office and that just specifically do office deals. And it's very simple to do, and it goes to those people that are only interested in what you have. Now you can send it to everybody if you want, but it does filter it down. So if you say have somebody that's looking to buy something in the Southeast, you can send that requirement to everybody in the Southeast that's doing investment sales. So it's all on our website. It's very simple.
One more simple story, and then we'll kind of move on with the program. And I really do want to make this a little bit more interactive. I want to, Alan and I want to hear about your markets, want to hear about what a good referral is for you. But I like to tell the story. And again, Jonathan, you've heard this one several times as well. But I was doing a restaurant transaction several years ago, and we came in to get our C of O, and the county said, well, you don't have enough parking. And we're like, well, what do we do? And I happened to be looking across the street, and there was a nice clear piece of dirt with a railroad track going through the middle of it. And I said, let me look that up, see who owns it. So I looked it up, and it was owned by CSX, obviously the freight line, the rail line. It's here in the Northeast. Looked them up and found out that they were headquarters in Jacksonville, Florida. So I called Jeff, our affiliate in Jacksonville, Florida, and I said, hey, Jeff, I said, and of course I knew Jeff from CORFAC conferences and meetings and having cocktails with him and dinner. And, Jeff Graham was a good friend. I said, Jeff, you got any contacts over at CSX? I really need to get to him. He said, absolutely. I have lunch with the director of real estate, once a quarter. She's a good friend of mine. Her name was Angela at the time. I said, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. within a couple hours, I had an email connecting the two of us, and I could tell you about probably 48 hours later, I had a lease for that dirt and I got my C of O. Yeah, I would have never had that, even that relationship, had it not been through CORFAC International. So again, that's just another, kind of trade story I like to tell. But with that, I don't know, Christy, what do we have next on the slides? Next generation, of course. So, obviously, I'm assuming that a good portion of these people, of everyone today is principals or somehow related to principals, and we all want to build, our next gen, and we all don't want to work forever, and have our young brokers take over. We've been a big supporter of next gen. We have a committee specifically generated to next gen, and they tend to caucus together, learn the market, and build from that. And we as principals are also taught or share best practices on how to recruit those next gen and how to, bring them along and share good and bad with each other. It's a very valuable resource, and it's paid out for me. Fortunately, within the last 12 months, I have a next gen that works directly for me, and it's been it's been excellent for me. I mean, we've been able to get a lot more coverage, and I just found the right guy, and a lot of that was through what I've learned in next gen. The trade shows, I was a big push for the ICSC Recon, which we were there briefly, and then we've now reasserted our presence there, and now we're actually building. We've got a better location now. We kind of have to start at the lower ground, but for those of you that don't know what Recon is, it usually attracts about 40,000 retail brokers in Las Vegas annually, and it is the place where retail deals are done in the U.S. And I'm pretty sure the ICSC has a pretty good coverage around the globe as well. And of course, many of you are taking advantage of our webinars. I think that's something that we're going to continue to do. There's been really good feedback with that through all our members, in addition to when we're able to actually meet together in person again someday soon, fingers crossed. I think we've got a really good, good education. And within that education series, I mean, just the knowledge that's within our organization alone really creates some great stuff, and we're constantly working to try to get information out to you on what some of our members are doing that are working, and how that can apply to your business. The app, I'm going to turn that over to you guys. Obviously, we've been working on the development of a CORFAC app. We are pretty far along, and Jonathan and or Christy will give you a little update on that.
Yes, the app. So as many of you know, I think all of you know, CORFAC has been working on an app for about a year now. We're in the final stages. We've got it at the developer right now for one little navigational piece that they're fixing. And then my hope is that it'll be going to the executive committee for a final blessing, and then a rollout to all members soon. So we are looking to do that this summer. So what the app does essentially is take all of the tools and resources from CORFAC's website and makes it a very easy resource that you could have in your pocket. So the email system that Alan was talking about is in the app. So you can send an email, take a picture with your phone if you have questions about something, and send it off to people. You can filter by specialty, you can update your profile, you can search transactions, you can search for clients, you can access resources and tools, and I'm trying to think if there's anything like the high levels that I'm missing. Firms, one of the great things I think is that you can search for offices and brokers, and once you find them, you can email, call, check out their social media, all from your phone. It's all buttons, it's all linked. There's no fumbling. You don't have to use another device to contact them. It's all one touch. It's very easy. So,
awesome.
Marla, are you still on? I know you were on the tech committee, so I know that she's had a preview.
Wow.
I don't know if she's willing to share.
Is she on?
So I think it's very simple to use. It is quite a great piece of technology, and it's I don't know if you see me. I don't see myself, but I assume that the video is working.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. That's
You
important.
can just hear me because I am not.
We can only hear. Yeah, we can only. We see your cats.
You just saw a cat.
This is when I stopped the video, but okay, you cannot. I don't know what's okay. I am on video mode, but okay. So it is very friendly to use, and I think this will help a lot the communication between the companies. I also think the last version of the website is great. I browsed the resources on the that are packed in there, and in this period they have been quite helpful. In some pitches, I got inspired in there, and now with this at our fingertips, I think it's much more easy to communicate. So it's quite a great step, I think.
Well, we're all looking forward to September. Thank you for your work.
Excellent. So I think, what's our next slide, Christy? I know we wanted to get into maybe a little bit more open discussion. Of course, and I'll let kind of Alan lead this, but the thought going forward here is kind of looking at where we can generate more referrals for you guys. At one point in this presentation, we were talking about the foreign investment in and out of the U.S. I know, and I don't know enough, and I'd like to hear more, that your investment products and your return on investments are substantially different around the world. A low cap return in our market, might be a high 4 or a 5. I mean, that's ridiculous though. They probably average in the 6 to 7 to 8, and in some cases, on rare occasions, 9 too. And my understanding, not knowing everyone's market, that's a pretty good return compared to what some of you guys are seeing in your smaller or in your foreign markets. And another thing is our fee schedule here. So if you have an investor that's looking to invest in the U.S., and I'm kind of looking at more of the capital market stuff right now. Our fees generally run, in that 3, 4, or 5% range. And again, my understanding, without direct knowledge, is that the fees, in some other countries are a lot smaller than that. So there's an opportunity here to maybe make a little bit more money and maybe get a little better return for your clients. So I think, Al, I'll let you turn this over. I think we want to maybe hear back from everyone here about your markets and what a good referral is for you, or what you're looking for, if there's product here that would make sense for any of your investors, what it would look like.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to go through the list of, as I see it on my board, and just ask each of you to just kind of go through. Again, introduce yourself, tell us about your firm, tell us what you do, and then let's talk about how can CORFAC do more business with you. So, Kieran, I'm going to start with you. You're first on my list. Are you there?
Who?
Kieran. I have Kieran Curtin. He's on there, but I don't. All right, Alistair, you're next. I see you.
Well, everybody knows who I am. I think on this call, we've all known each other, fortunately, for some time, which is good actually, because I think part of the CORFAC thing is the growing family and people getting to know each other a lot better as the years run on. Here in Fairbrother, I'm with Charlie. He's downstairs, I'm upstairs, and we're back in the office from time to time, having had a fairly tough 4 months. We're a general practice London-based firm that effectively is doing lots of work on the leasing, transactional side, the investment side. We do rent reviews, lease renewals, lease re-gears. We have a side of our business that does offices and retail. We don't do anything to do with industrial or hotels. And we have a separate property asset management business. So we have a company called Tandem Property Asset Management that does and manages, looks after all of the business, all of the properties that clients of ours own throughout the country. I guess for me, the communication from a CORFAC perspective is good. The platform is there. It's just not being used. It's one of my biggest frustrations over the 7 or 8 years that we've been lucky enough to be part of this global family. And it's frustrating because, you know, there are even people missing from this call, from representative offices as well. And I find that just slightly strange. It would be nicer if there was a greater buy-in from everybody. We've all got great contacts. If you look at people's LinkedIn's profiles, they've got amazing contacts. And something that Joe, you touched on, and Alan too, about, you know, who knows who. The great thing about the app is if you're sitting on the train, you can go into the app and see who knows who, or read a story about an American firm in London, or even be proactive and say, I'd like to reach out to these people. Does anybody know them, by using the internal email system? But somehow the value of CORFAC isn't being truly exhausted by members in such a way. We're now in, I think we're very similar to everyone else in that we're hurting, no doubt about it. We've had a really, really tough 4 months. 2 weeks ago, we drew a line in the sand and we said, right, enough is enough talk about hurting. We're now going to plan to go forward. This is a moment in time. And we've got our business development heads on now big time. We're starting to be more strategic. We're starting to be more business focused about people that we can engage with. And a big part of our marketplace here in London that's developed over the last 15 years, probably 10 to 15 years, but maybe 15 to 10 years, is the international market. That's where I think CORFAC for Fairbrother has a really good part to play. Is all the international money coming in. I suspect after chucking out the telecoms Huawei people last night, we probably won't see much Chinese money coming into the UK, as it was described as a growing hostile place to invest in, only because we're worried about our security. But joking apart, we have the American investors, we have the Canadian investors, we have the Russians, the all wide degree of investors outside Europe. Obviously, amongst us Europeans on this call, we had a great meeting in Germany and great comms across between us all, where we can really develop some good business, some good opportunities to business develop and think creative, use those personal relationships. And we've just got to work at it. We've got to be tougher. And get into a habit of speaking on a more frequent basis. I think by that, we'll then start to see the values coming out. I know we're all busy. That's not now necessarily a valid excuse not to pick up the phone to a few people once a week or once a fortnight. But that's us in a nutshell. You know, we've been here for 221 years. We're not quite as old as America, but we're not far short of it. We will persevere, we will get through this, we will fight, and we'll do whatever we can to engage within our CORFAC community, because we truly believe that there are spoils there to be had. And let's face it, we're all interested in earning as much money here as we possibly can after the last 4 months' devastation.
Thanks, Alistair. That's great. All right, Marilla, I see you're next on my list.
How would you prefer? I would try to reconnect once again. I feel strange to speak with you without having the image working, but I didn't want to disconnect while Alistair was speaking. Can I switch my place with somebody else just in order to try once again to fix this?
You certainly may.
Yes. Right. Okay. Thank you. I'll reconnect in one second.
Next on I'm gonna move to, since Charlie, you're with same with Alistair, I'm gonna go to Bill our French connection in France, and I'm gonna let Bill talk about what he does. So, Bill, you're up. Be sure to take yourself out. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And happy Bastille Day to you all from yesterday. So we had the glorious French Air Force going down the Champs-Élysées and an amazing fireworks display on the Eiffel Tower. So Bijicari, you guys all know us, I think. Our problem is we're tiny in a huge market. There's such an opportunity in France. It's 66 million people, same size as Great Britain. So much going on. So what we specialize in, we used to be particularly involved in investment work, which is where the four of us got together, four partners we were at the time in 2004. And I think we had a good run on that for about 5 or 10 years, doing small and big deals, international deals, and everything else. It was a great time, but we slightly went beyond our sell date in that we find that the market here is so dominated by the majors, the major 6 or 7 who really do scoop up the good stuff. So we've had to specialize in going on to rather small secondary properties and the properties and everything else, which we enjoy doing, but the income isn't quite as good as it was. So what we've done as well is we've gone out into a range of other worlds. We now do property management. Seemed an odd decision last year. Seems a very clever decision, I must say, this July, because it's got us about a third of our income for the year is managing a co-living fund. So we're very much into co-living. If anyone needs any advice on that, we work with at least 6 different operators, 4 of which are from France. We worked with a company called Gravity that comes from London. We worked with the name. There's a German company we work with. So we particularly have it into co-living, and we also have a contract now with a. It's interesting. I'll give you their point of view with a fund that only works in. It's a local French fund, a property trader, who's got himself a war chest, and he's getting ready for the Armageddon of this autumn. He reckons that in France we're still in the sort of the easy period after the COVID lockdown. The sun's lovely. Everyone's going on holiday. No one thinks there's a problem, but there will be substantial cash runs, lack of cash flow, and everything that will collapse major firms. We've already seen quite a bit of it on the retail side now. So it's interesting. You should have different people in your armory on top of what you normally do, because you are seriously going to find a lot of your normal business lines will not survive next January. There's a lot of sea changes. So think of new lines, and part of it is property consultancy to banks, distressed loans, working for value-add funds. There's a lot to be said there for doing the complete service. That's what we do. We work on properties where we can manage them. We certainly asset manage them. We reluctantly let them, because that's the one we don't really do. Leasing, we always subcontract other people normally. Leasing, and then other advisory investment works to resell it, and we do some development. So we benefited enormously from being in CORFAC, in that firstly it's fantastic seeing you all guys. I seriously miss not being in Dublin. I got a phone call the other day from my hotel in Dublin saying, Mr. Beauclair, will you be coming over then? I realized I'd booked 5 nights because I was going to go on straight to the SIRR conference that would followed. I'm very sad to have missed that, but it looks like it's all rescheduled for next year. So we've, I was on the phone the other day to Peter Stark in Berlin. He's probably talked to you guys in London. He's looking for large international investors for an extremely prime office building in the area of the north of Berlin, just next to the Hauptbahnhof. So if you've got any thoughts on that, I mean, we're very grateful to Fairbrother. That's been one of the big links for us. In that Fairbrother, it's enormous support. You've had people coming over to France. You've put Madison our way. You've put the firm that didn't go much further up, but Eurotunnel Hotels. It's about 2 or 3 other names that you've put our way, and that's what we enormously appreciate. But what I must say is, in return, I mean, we're busy. We have a lot going on, but we always have time for you guys, and we would love, frankly, you look at the who's who around the world. the French are right up there. We're the biggest, one of the biggest luxury retailers. We've got all the firms. The ones that aren't Italians are French. When it comes to supermarkets, where we dominate the world in many firms, and the list goes on. We've got, we do arms dealing all over the place. France, we do a lot of international building works and the rest. So if you see a French name, give us a call. We've all been here an awful long time. And
grocery stores, Bill, I don't know. The Germans are doing a really good job in inundating our market with grocery stores right now. There's about 4 or 5 German brands that have inched their way in here pretty strongly. Yeah. But with that, continue, please.
Yeah.
Yes, those Lidl and Aldi are formidable. They're dominating all their markets. They are buying up huge chains of failed supermarkets in France, and people love them. People adore them. So I would love to help on sourcing and working and getting closer to any French firms. And I read all the time about French investors doing things in all over the world. Another French investment deal in Dublin announced today, I think it was. It's stunning what they get up to. Most of them are friends. We know them well. I mean, we love to. I mean, they're very approachable. You can reach them directly, but we'd love to help you out if you feel the need on that. And we've actually put a couple of deals over to the States, smaller deals looking for offices. One which actually we outsourced to. We had to go to CBRE sadly because talking to you guys, there was no. It was in a town northeast of New York where there's no CORFAC business. So we put to the we went to the local CBRE people on your recommendations. Okay.
Thanks, Bill. That's great. I'm gonna go next on my list. Will be Leanne. Are you there, Mr. Sayer? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Unmute myself. Hello there. Yeah, no, hello from Dublin. Yeah, I mean, I suppose just as a brief overview of HWBC, we're based in Dublin. Obviously, we're missing out on having the CORFAC family with us very recently, but we'll obviously look forward to seeing many of you next year, hopefully. I suppose similar to many of you, were a full service firm. We would essentially be, and most of our income comes from buying investments, and then essentially we try and stay involved in the properties that we've bought for as long as we can. So we offer management, we offer leasing, we offer valuation, rent review services, and also in the event we bought badly, we also have a receivership department. And we've recently expanded into debt advisory, as well as we've seen an explosion of the number of debt providers in Ireland away from traditional banks. So again, we found that has started off very, very well, and you know, has certainly exceeded our expectations so far. So as I say, I mean, we're a full service firm. We concentrate almost entirely on buying. I think similar perhaps to many of you, we would struggle to even get on pitch lists for large sale mandates. We get the odd ones through personal connections, but the way investment brokerage works in Ireland is on an introductory basis. So essentially, if you are first to bring an asset to an investor, then generally speaking, you'll be instructed to acquire it for them. So clearly, information is very, very key for us, and also having access to the right person in an organisation is key for us. So certainly, I mean, I just want to acknowledge, you know, again, we very recently in the last couple of weeks, Fairbrother have put us in touch with Brookfield in Canada. Well, actually based in London, but the Canadian investor. And hopefully that connection might result in something. Also through Antonio in Italy, we got a good introduction to Generali, a large insurance investor based in Milan. So we're seeing increasingly, the benefits of CORFAC. I think I would struggle to point to a deal that has actually been generated by a referral, but certainly our feeling is that we're getting closer and closer to getting deals that will have been generated through the CORFAC connection. And I think that when people see that a few successes, and I think that when people are getting shares of fees or whatever from transactions that they've been able to facilitate, hopefully that will put some momentum behind people's willingness to share contacts and reach out to each other for assistance. But I think that, from our perspective, with a very heavy investment focus, very much on the buy side. In terms of outgoing investment, there is actually very little. Most Irish investors having pretty universally pretty much disgraced themselves around the world in the period on the run up to 2010. People tend to be a bit more cautious now about overseas investment. So we're seeing a huge amount of inward investment from both Europe and the US. And then I think the second strand where we see potentially there could be some benefit from the CORFAC membership is in the office leasing side of the business. And there we are seeing a lot of US corporate, especially US corporates who choose to base themselves primarily in Dublin. And I think sort of trying to get mandates to acquire space, there's potential for those. Again, it's a market that's very heavily dominated by the sort of CBREs and JLLs. But given the sort of extensive network, especially in the US, it's something that we would like to sort of explore and see if we can help grow. And equally, it does cut both ways. There are Irish startups that spring out of the American tech companies that are then looking to acquire space in the US in turn, and hopefully there would be opportunities for us to reciprocate. So that's HWBC in a nutcase for you.
Oh, great, thank you. That's very helpful. All right, Marina, what's going on in our Russian friends and the furthest east country, the European country that we have?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm sorry I was a little bit late, had the previous conference call. So happy to see everybody. If we talk about the Russia, so in Russia there are two main markets, the St. Petersburg and Moscow. We are presented in both cities. We have two offices. So we slowly return back to work. So most of the restrictions because of the COVID have canceled, but not everywhere, not in all regions. We still see that some companies only partly return back to work, and some of the huge companies, they continue the isolation and working from home till September, October. But basically the main tendencies that we see right now is first, well, of course, in the best situation are the IT companies and pharma companies. So they mostly not so much touched. They keep working and it's not a very big sense for them to work from home or from normal office. We have a very huge growth of the warehouses requests for lease. We also see the tendency that a lot of people start to think to buy their own premises instead of lease. So we have a lot of requests for purchasing. And also we see the activity from co-working spaces as for lease, as the requests from them for the new premises, because they start their operation not so long time ago in Russia, probably a couple years ago. So now it's enough modern situation, and a lot of companies try to use it because it's enough flexible decision for many companies, especially for small one or who are not ready to pay the lease. So we also see some activity from different developers. For example, here in Moscow, for the last month, we have 3 huge developers who returned to their projects, and actually they start the construction. So one of them start the construction of the office center for around 100 square meters altogether. They have several phases. Another one, they have 2 buildings for 60,000 and for 80,000 square meters. So the market is enough alive. We see a very good growth of the request for the investments, and if present what we do, we normally do the brokerage, we do the analytics, we have our own analytical department. We do consulting for the landlords and for the companies as well. So it's the landlord's representation and the tenants rep. And also we start to move very fast our investment department, because the number of the requests for the investments are growing up very much. As from big companies who now prefer to look the premises for their own office, also from the private investors and some investment holdings. Also, one of the departments which feel right now very good is the way when you can buy the small office already with the tenant. So actually you buy in the small cash flow. So now it's very popular in between private investors, like the physical person who just have their own savings and want to invest it in real estate, in the commercial real estate. So they don't need to buy the huge business center. They can just buy the small office already with the tenant, with the lease agreement, and receive the constant cash flow. So it's very popular now, and I guess that soon it will come from Moscow to St. Petersburg. And of course, we hope that somewhere in the fall, maybe we'll finally open the borders, and maybe some of the private investors will look for some opportunities abroad. So in this case, of course, the big advantage for us to be the part of the CORFAC is to feel the world market and to have an opportunity to cooperate with all of you guys to receive maybe some interesting investment offers and proposals for different investment cases. So yes, basically this is it.
Thank you, Marina. That's great. Yeah, we'd love to see Russia open up more. That'd be great. And I hope that'd be sooner than later. All right.
I hope so.
Yeah. Max had to leave, but I'm going to go to
leave. I got to share something really quick with you guys. And Max is off. Max is still on, aren't you, Max?
No, he had to leave. Max had to leave, but I think
this is a perfect example of why we all need to talk more. So during this presentation, Max just emailed me. He owns a shopping center 5 miles from my office in Wilmington, Delaware. Literally 5 miles. The Home Depot.
Who's managing it?
A New York firm, but we're going to talk. The Home Depot that I go to at least once a week, Max Angerfeld owns. How ironic is that? This is why we all need to communicate. You never know what's going to happen. We're going to talk later about it. So perfect example of why we need to keep communicating, really. But go ahead, Alan, keep going.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Marina. That's great. Marilla, well, where are your cats? Got to put on you got to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. Sorry to take you the view of those two lovely cats. They are part of our family strategy to cope with these times. And we took them at Easter time for our kid. And now, while sharing your Zoom account with the kid, things like this happen. Your profile picture becomes the kitten and all those things. I'm really glad to be here with part of you, even if due to such times we have to only virtually communicate for this moment. I remember our prior meeting in organized by HWBC in Dublin, which was really amazing, and I am so in love with Dublin since then, and I really want to come back as soon as it will be possible. That's a lovely city. Coming back to who we are, just a very short introduction for our friends in US on ESOP. We are a family business established something like 17 years ago. Our practice is about 20 people in this moment. And we are, I think, the only independent company fighting a bit the multinational, challenging them and giving an option to companies here. We are focused on the office part and on industrial recently, especially since joining CORFAC. And this has been an interesting time lately because our core business on office segment has been significantly affected, as I imagine in your market is happening. All the big guys, the multinationals, are a bit on hold, waiting to have a certain better visibility and to be able to plan further their businesses. But on the industrial segment, we have seen that the market is quite very active in this period, and it is a good time to put additional resources. And this has been one small good thing in this period, to see that there are segments of the market that are going well, and we try to get energy from there and to put more resources to be at least mentally okay till this whole thing ends. As you know, here in Romania, we are generally a destination for the big guys in your markets. All the big high-tech people are coming here because we have, it appears, some great IT programmers and a great broadband internet. And also, I think you have in here from US a lot of automotive companies. Practically all the big guys are a sort like Miguelis in Mexico, but much closer to you. We are something like this in the East European perimeter. In this period, speaking about how we try to cope and to go further with those times, we are working, and this period made us somehow get faster, and we are working to digitalize much more, almost entirely if possible, our presentation project towards the clients. We want to go paperless. We want to be able to have in our pitches and presentations the entire portfolio able to be presented online. We are working to a new website that will support this, and this website has a back-end accessed only via a password, you know, for the agents, but also it has a section for the clients. And we have put a kind of, I don't know, 3-4 months already into this project, and most likely we have around 2 months until we'll be able to be live on the market. But we hope that this will be an instrument that will help us be much faster when the market will be there. In this moment in Romania, on the office segment, I would estimate that our demand level is something like 20% that, or 15 for what it was. So even if we have, we came back to the offices most of the time, I am a bit more shifting between home and office because I have a 10-year kid now in holiday. So even if we are in the office, you can imagine the people don't have that much what to work on, and we are trying to use this period for a strategic process, kind of refine our I don't know, presentation pitches, to try to keep contact with the clients, although that they are saying to us that in the following period, no news of expansion or things like this. We just want to be there and to see if we can help them with something like, I don't know, planning to be COVID proof, or to help them with the renewal processes. In our strategy, we feel that the money in the following year most likely will come from such renewals, and from maybe some extensions of the leases done in the past.
Mm.
But, however, I think that this madness cannot stay forever with us. Mankind is the most resilient being on this planet, and I'm very confident that we will overcome this. I think it is very important to stick together and to try to keep your mind clear and healthy, to try to be prudent. Of course, we are revising our costs, and although we have not released people, we want to be on a safe side because we don't know how much time it will take this further. We are keeping contact with the boards, with the people in multinationals that we are generally connected with, because when multinationals will come back to work, we will have what to work on. And the feedback that we have from them is that probably the next year we will see a slow trying to come back to normality, but it can take 2-3 years or maybe 4 to reach the level in 2019.
Right.
We were lucky to have a good 2019 and beginning of 2020. That will help us further. And also we were very prudent with the backups and capitalizing our company. But these are tough times for all of us. But I think the most important is to be optimistic and energized, and to be there for the people for when they will need us.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Mirella. That's great. When you finish your website, why don't you send it to everybody? We'd love to look at it. I think that'd be great for us to see when you're ready.
Yes, with pleasure. And we can have also an interactive demo just to maybe can bring ideas to some of you. Or
Great.
share our knowledge.
May I will just add a little bit, as Mirella said that they're looking to use less paper for the presentations and be more digital. We actually previously have made several times like the real estate maps for separately for St. Petersburg and separately for Moscow. So one was like the huge map where people can see all the warehouses in the city, and another one was for all of the business centers. So actually now we also transfer it for the digital. So now we have two separate websites as the part of our main website, where people just can look online, different business centers, their locations, and so on. So it's really cool idea. So good luck for you in that. It's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, you can share to us maybe in the chat box the links of these. Bright
Yeah,
Reach
sure.
is phenomenal at the digital part and with the websites and with the marketing presentation. I always love, and I think we have a lot to learn from them. I'd be glad to see the websites if you can.
Thank you very much. I will share the links. Yes.
Great. All right. Back to the our British friends. Charlie, you're up. Tell us what's going on in your world below Alistair.
Yeah, I won't repeat what Alistair says. Not say that everyone knows me, because that's that most people do anyway. I just wanted to sort of talk about CORFAC and just being, you know, the international chair, because I'm, as Alistair said, you know, we have got lots of members, and it's about buying in, and it's always seems to be the same group, and it's this group who's on here now. I've got extended the whole lot so I can see you all, and I really want to get more engagement. That's my big drive, has been for the last 18 months or so. Thus, you know, having the Dublin conference failing because of the COVID thing, it's an absolute gutting, because it'd be great to see everyone, and obviously have lots of Guinness for you, Ian, but can't do it. But you know, I think we just needed more engagement and more platform, and sharing ideas, like Marina and Morello have said. It'd be great to get that going. And I think we just need to talk more. That's all it comes down to. I think hopefully with the app coming through, and obviously people using the CORFAC website more and using the tools which are on there to sort of help and ask questions, because you're right, no one's doing it enough. And once you do ask a question, just a couple of emails, like Ian sent that one in Brookfield, you know, we know the London guys very well, so it'd be good to help more. You know, with what we've done in the last 5 or 6 years we've been members, you know, the first year we sold a building, second year was a bit quiet. We've done some lease advisory work and some valuation work, and we've also more recently done some stuff in New York, where we gave Hemsley Spears a lead which came into something, but also we're doing some stuff in Switzerland with Daniel. So it's all going very well on the sort of cross-selling that we're doing, and it is, you know, we'll be making a little bit of money from it as well, which is a benefit. But I think Alice has touched on, you know, Bill touched on, you know, I love seeing you guys, and I love being part of this, and it's great fun. But also it's the network as a stepping stone to create more as well, and hopefully we will. And I'll just say, I'm probably wrapping up now as well, because I've got to run out to do a viewing, but thank you all so much for your time today. And then we've got another session tomorrow where we'll hopefully, Christy will break into smaller groups and then have more of a chin wag and chat through everything.
Thank you, Charlie. I think the last person on the list is Daniel, if I haven't seen him, but I think he's on. Our friend from Switzerland. Are you here? There he is.
I am. Sorry, I was hiding up in the back. I think I'm going to be on another call in the next session. I thought I'd listen into this, but maybe I can just share a few thoughts. First, we obviously think big, and you get that by virtue of the background that you can see me. And I don't know what city that is, so anyone who can guess where I am, please say so. I don't know where. But yeah, we do think big. I'd like to share two thoughts. One is sort of the approach that we take currently to the market, and secondly, a thought to share about CORFAC. So one of the things that we do when we go out and do our pitches, we tell people that we take on the hard cases, and indeed we do. We can certainly show that we take on the hard cases. We take on buildings which have more asbestos in them than you can imagine, and we'll try to split titles and do all sorts of things. And in addition, the other thing that we do in addition to taking on the hard cases is we try to exceed, and we do, I think, exceed our clients' expectations. Also, there's this discussion about being a full service firm. We don't say that we're a full service firm. We say we're a more service firm. Because in addition to the typical full service activities of brokerage and perhaps tenant landlord representation, property management, asset management, we also will do structuring, for example. We'll come up with ideas. And indeed, as a small firm, we need to be better than the average bear or better than the rest of the bears in the forest. And just to give you one example of that, what we're currently doing now, because we too have seen a drop-off in business, like everyone. So a better idea, we're currently in the process of identifying firms who we think sale leaseback would help them by looking at their balance sheets. These could be public firms or even sort of the mid-sized firms on who may be quoted but not quoted on the main stock exchange. Firms which we think their balance sheet could be improved by way of getting more cash and paying off debt. Sale leaseback transaction would make sense. And we have investors who would be willing to be the investors, to be on the other side of the transaction. So that's an example of where we try to do more service, not only full service, to exceed our clients' expectations and perhaps take on the hard cases. Lastly, a word about CORFAC. I remember being a junior lawyer, a tax lawyer in Toronto, and I asked the senior partner a question about an investment tax credit. And rather than answering me, he ran out of the room and went and grabbed a client who was just leaving the office and brought this fellow back who happened to be a tax accountant. And this fellow, Graham Turner, looked at me and he said, Daniel, knowing someone who knows is almost as good as knowing yourself. Now, I know that's an old quotation. I don't know who to attribute it to, but when I heard it, it was Graham Turner was the fellow who told me, but I'm sure you can find it on the internet. But knowing someone who knows is as good as knowing yourself. And I wonder whether that really speaks for CORFAC, because we're more than just the individual offices. We're an office which has incredible ideas, incredible reach, incredible experience, and that's really what CORFAC is about. And as everyone has said, the more we speak to each other, the more we get together, the more we can do. And lastly, just on that point about the more we can do, when I attended Philadelphia, I think that might have been the last in-person CORFAC conference. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was, I think, the last one I attended. At one of the sessions, I sat beside a fellow from Bradford, Joe Santaluaria, from Bradford Realty in Dallas, Texas. And a week or two later, after I had gotten home, I got a note from Joe saying, hey, he knows he was driving by and he saw a property and he just thought he'd do a little research on this company. Maybe they need some space to expand in the Dallas area. And it turns out that they were a Swiss company. Not only were they a Swiss company, he called and asked if I knew anything about them, but in fact, I even knew the private equity firm who is their owner, and I knew them quite well. And as a result of that, we're working on some transactions. So it's just an example of sort of just by circumstances of being together, as you've heard from others, transactions do happen. Thank you.
That's what it's all about. It's just that one bit of information. I mean, it's proven time and time again that information is what we do. And if we're not providing information amongst ourselves, we're not doing a good job. And hopefully Joe may make a deal with Max. I mean, if it's right there, you know, it's a great opportunity. So I think that's pretty much it for today, y'all. I've kept you for an hour and 25 minutes, and I don't want to keep you any longer unless there's anybody else that has anything to say. I want to thank you for being here. I think we have this is a very good core for the International European Group. I would like to see more. I think we can certainly increase that synergy, if you will. And I challenge you as members of this core group to try to reach out and try to get some of these members that we have more active, because really the value you get into it is what you put in, and it just benefits everybody. So Jonathan, unless there's anything else on your end that you
One
need.
last thing, Alan, I'm hopefully, this COVID situation's, going to get better, and we're going to be able to physically go visit everyone next year. I mean, we do have a full slate of conferences scheduled. I really encourage some cooperation between our international firms as to which, I'm assuming you probably guys want to go to Vegas, if given the choice. against Detroit, but Vegas is pretty exciting. I would really love to see a really strong turnout in Vegas at the conference again, assuming all goes well with COVID between now and then, so we can actually be together and really, discuss some business. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. I just had one comment myself for Daniel. Daniel, in Deeper Zurich, can you find a higher chair?
You know what? I figured I have more than one screen, and I finally realized at least which screen where the camera is.
Yeah, you look a bit smaller, because I was lucky enough. I phoned up Kurt back in April, and I said I understand that the Americans are now doing social distancing. You've now got to stay 1.37 Danny DeVitos apart. He said that's the first small person COVID joke he's heard.
That's good.
Outstanding.
Thanks, Bill.
Well, everybody, thank you again. Have a great rest of the tomorrow. We'll reconvene, and you will not see Joe and I, but you'll see John and Christy and Jennifer. So, but thank you again, and we miss you. We'll look forward to seeing you guys in Vegas.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
all.
you very much.
Thank you
Bye.
very much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.